Good evening, you're watching The Catholic Monarchist. We're now on our third episode of Building a Catholic Monarchy series. Previously, I've touched on the structure of government and most recently, now the people who would be eligible and preferable to occupy the positions of leadership and authority. And there is an extra point I wanted to make that I wasn't able to last time around. I just forgot. I believe that any leader in this country, including the king, is obligated to fight in any unprovoked war that he causes. Meaning, unless it's out of self-defense, the men responsible for getting their country into a war will be on the battlefield. Now, if only every country adopted this principle, imagine how many fewer wars there would be in the world. But instead, what we have are greedy, cowardly bureaucrats who treat war and foreign affairs like a video game, recline back in their safe chairs while throwing the common folk out to fight and die over their selfish ambitions. Huge examples of this, for example, would include the two world wars, which were not some wondrous battles of good versus evil like the history books tell you, but rather a win-win scenario for evil people whose goal was money and power and the destruction of Catholic influence in the world. But anyway, I won't ramble on that too long. For this episode, I'll be talking about religion in this hypothetical kingdom and explaining how the Catholic Church, the one true religion, and all other false religions would fit into it. The official religion of the country would be Catholicism. It would be taught throughout the kingdom and given privileges and protections that no other religion would have. Not only would its buildings, materials, books, etc. be tax-free, but they would also be provided by the government. Speech laws would be put in place, public blasphemies against God would be illegal, and fines would be enforced. If someone were speaking out and slandering the church with falsehoods, that would also be punished. Holy days of obligation would be federal holidays, and by law, employers would be obligated and are required to give the employees the option to take those days off with pay. I would probably add a few more days as well, a few more holy days to add to that federal holiday list, because I really think people should have the right to celebrate Catholic feast days, go to Mass, feast with family and friends. I'm not interested in implementing this insane, obsessive Protestant work ethic that we see today here in America, but something more balanced that allows for more family time. As for other religions, now we're talking about a completely different story. St. Pius X was opposed to the notion that, quote, every man is free to embrace and profess that religion which, guided by the light of reason, he shall consider true. From the SSPX article, Religious Liberty Contradicts Tradition, it is stated, quote, the saints have never hesitated to break idols, destroy their temples, or legislate against pagan or heretical practices. The Church, without ever forcing anyone to believe or be baptized, has always recognized its right and duty to protect the faith of her children and to impede, whenever possible, the public exercise and propagation of false cults. And then finally, a word from my favorite Pope, Leo XIII. He stated, the equal toleration of all religions is the same as atheism. And so I want to take from these great sources and apply them to this kingdom. Any equal treatment between the Catholic Church and false religions goes against tradition and is an offense against the truth and gives the impression that these other religions can be true, which are in direct contradiction to the Catholic faith. With all of that in mind, I think people are free to privately decide whether they are on the side of God or against Him. The state, however, will do what it can to discourage people from choosing the latter without forcing their wills. Public places of worship that are not Catholic are not permitted, because any toleration of false religions such as this makes it easier and more convenient for people to follow those paths of error. Any public displays or promotions for false religions would not be tolerated and would have to be suppressed. Again, this is not from a stance of insecurity among the Catholics for the trueness of their faith. It is possible to have the full truth while also trying to protect people from an overexposure of falsehoods. Some will claim that this is religious persecution. But if you look at it from the Catholic point of view, the importance of having certain freedoms in this world is completely dwarfed by the importance of following the one true church toward heaven, where the reward is infinitely greater than anything we can have here. It's from a place of charity, not hatred. To enforce these laws, it is a charitable act. And unfortunately, many these days, Catholics even fail to understand this point and distinction. Some will point out, well, that's what you believe in. And that's the truth. And my truth is different. Why should you push your beliefs onto others who don't think the same way? The reality in life is this: you're either with God or against Him. Two options. That's it. On one hand, being with God means being Catholic, believing in the teachings of His church, living in the state of grace, loving your neighbors, and so on. Anything outside of the Catholic Church, whether it's Muslim, Jewish, Protestant, pagan, atheist, non-committal, is against Him. A society and state will also either be with God or against Him. A society with God is like the one that I'm proposing. It recognizes His and His church's authority over us. Just like truth, it is simple, clear, and to the point. Things get murky and confusing outside of that, hence why there are so many ways to be against Him. A country that recognizes any non-Catholic religion as the state religion is anti-God. A country that pretends to recognize that every religion is equal is also anti-God, because it's placing His church and religion on the same level as the false man-made ones. And that's why religious liberty is evil, and why the Catholic Church, before the Judeo-Freemasonic takeover of Vatican II, always condemned it. And to conclude, that's why my hypothetical nation chooses the former option, the side that is pro-God and pro-truth. I won't sit and pretend that false religions deserve the same respect and dignity that is owed to Catholicism. And while anyone has the freedom to practice whatever they want to believe in private, the state will make it abundantly clear that anything outside of the Catholic Church is false, and that will be seen everywhere in public life, art, music, legislation, architecture, and so on. And then one last thing. We're going to bring back BC and AD. We're no more of this common era nonsense. And anyone who continues to use those in this hypothetical kingdom will be arrested. Their possessions and homes will be taken from them, and they will be publicly flogged for the whole world to see. Maybe that's a little harsh. Maybe not maybe we'll let them keep some of their possessions. I don't know. I'm kidding, obviously. But yes, we're bringing back BC and AD. and that will be official. And with all that said, that's everything I've got for you today. You have a great rest of your evening, and God bless.